Hey everyone, just a quick little video here for you to get some notes about Orthodox Christianity and really understanding within the Byzantine Empire how did their religious beliefs differ from what we're going to see with Roman Catholicism. And as we've talked about before, Catholic meaning universal and how there was one holy Catholic church, meaning that there was up until this point really ultimately a main one church that was together. And we're going to see for the first time really in history that there was going to be a significant divide within Christianity. Now, this division, if we kind of take a back burner and understand some of the background, we know that Christianity really started spreading because of Paul of Tarsus. And as he's going to be traveling throughout Anatolia into Europe, in these different regions, that he is going to be a key person that is spreading Christianity. We know that it's going to be mostly in Greek-speaking cities, and then ultimately because of different trade routes that it's going to move into what we know as modern-day France, and back then Gaul, and into Europe. Now, the main thing that we do need to understand is, for the most part, both East and West base their faith on Jesus Christ and the Bible, and they have their core beliefs are very similar. However, there are going to be some things that they really differ on. Now, first of all, when we're looking at Christianity and we're looking in Western Europe, we're going to see that they believed that the leader of the church was known as the Pope, which is Latin for father. And the Pope ultimately was their top authority figure of the church. They believed that the Pope, as a male, was infallible, meaning whatever he decided on church beliefs and what he said as the leader, he was without error. And so they really believed that the Pope was this ultimate conduit between God and the church as it was. Now, this is going to be very different than what we're going to see in the Byzantine church. The Byzantines had a religious leader that was known as a Patriarch. They believed he was just a man, that he was fallible, and ultimately, which is very different, is that the emperor had ultimate control. This belief of Caesaropapism, as you saw from the crash course, Caesar over Pope, that the emperor is going to be the person that is going to appoint the patriarch, the head of the church. So the government is going to be the one that is appointing the leader of the church within the Byzantine Empire. And that person is fallible, could make mistakes, just a person. The Byzantine Christians, you need to understand, did not accept the authority of the Pope. And so as you're looking at this, you kind of need to understand that we're starting to see some tension between the two. The Byzantines didn't believe that the Pope was an infallible person. They just believed he was a person. And so we see this as also when we're looking at Europe during this time, and as we'll cover in this unit, there wasn't a unified government. So ultimately the Pope really kind of was on their own, and the church almost had more power than the government during that time. Whereas in the Byzantine Empire, we have an organized government, and we have things going for them. And so you have to understand some of those major differences during this time period. Now, the biggest controversy, as we're kind of building up to when there is this great divide, is really going to happen kind of over time, and it's going to happen gradually. And one of those things, besides some of the other issues that we've already talked about, one of the big issues between the East and the West is going to be their use of icons. Icons were basically these religious images, these paintings, these statues that Christians would have or use during worship or prayer, something that would help them kind of connect with God. And so in the West, in Rome, under the Pope, within the Catholic Church at this time, the use of icons was not a big deal. And even within the Byzantine Empire, it wasn't. But in time, what we're going to see is we're going to have Emperor Leo III of the Byzantine Empire in 730 is going to have a problem with this, seeing this almost as if these icons were these images and they were becoming like idols. And people were worshiping the actual icons versus worshiping who God was or who Jesus was. And so they had a problem with them. And so Emperor Leo III of the Byzantine Empire ordered for the destruction of icons all throughout the Byzantine Empire. And so as we look at this, this is known as iconoclasm, this deliberate destruction of icons or religious images, and saying that, hey, you're missing the point. Instead, it's supposed to be about worship of who God is, but what's happening here is people are actually worshiping these icons or these idols. Now, it wasn't as big of a deal within the Roman Catholic Church during this time, or at least the church that was in Rome or within Western Europe. And so they kind of saw this as this kind of breaking point, this tension of, well, it's not really that big of a deal. It's just an option for you to be able to connect with God within this version. Now, the Pope within Western Europe supported the use of icons, and they called Leo III a heretic. And we talked about this in class, that's a believer of false religious ideas. However, the Pope, what we see is we're kind of building to this point that in 1054, what's going to happen is the Pope is going to send some cardinals to the Hagia Sophia, the Church of the Holy Wisdom, and they are going to offer on the kind of like the front of the sanctuary, they're going to place the bull of excommunication, basically excommunicating the Byzantine church from the Roman Catholic Church. And then this kind of goes back this other way. It's ultimately this big breaking point. And so it's going to be known as the Great Schism, or the East-West Schism, that occurred in 1054. So this has been happening kind of over time. They've been separated for almost 500 years since the fall of Rome, and we see that over time with iconoclasm and these other events that slowly but surely there's becoming a break between the church that was in Constantinople and the church that was in Rome. And ultimately at the end, we're going to have two different churches. The first great split within Christianity between the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church. Big thing as we end is we just want to make sure you guys see the differences between these. Like we said, similarities, both believed in Jesus Christ and the Bible. They both agreed about the works and the messages of Paul. They supported that. They're both very sacramental or liturgical. So there's like in their services, they kind of go through these sacraments or these different liturgies. However, the big differences, as you can see here, between Roman Catholic and Greek Orthodox. The Roman Catholic Church had Latin as their main language, and then the Greeks spoke Greek. And so we start seeing over time that there's going to have a problem with them communicating, and they're going to have disagreements, more so just because they can't communicate in the same language. We're going to see the head of the church is the Pope, whereas we're going to see in the Byzantine Empire, it's going to be the Patriarch, and so with the Patriarch, that is going to be the person that's appointed by the Emperor, and then over, basically, so the Caesar over Pope, Caesaro-Papism, we're going to see the Emperor over the Patriarch in the Greek Church. In the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope and priests were celibate, they couldn't marry, whereas in the Greek Orthodox Church, they could marry. They were shaved in the Roman Catholic Church, and they had beards within the Greek Orthodox, and then that difference between icons. So hopefully that gives you kind of an understanding of how the churches were different within Christianity during this time period, and you have some good notes on this so that you understand this division, and that will set you up for the rest of this unit.